I'm Paige. I'm Lilia.
I'm Jing.
I'm Kyrie.
I'm Taylor.
And you're listening to
I am Paige. I'm Lilia.
Hello everyone, today's March 20th and you're listening to the Radioheads. Today we have some pretty interesting stories for you guys. First off, I'm going to be talking about a suspect of a vehicular manslaughter and an accident in a Nevada military base. After me will be Kyrie talking about the Miami's, how Miami can't help what Kyrie will be talking about is how the Miami Heat can't help the NBA's national rating on TV, and Adrian Dantley, former NBA player, becoming a crossing guard. Talking third will be Taylor about a mom going through her son's text messages and how gargle texting is a sign of stroke. And last we have Paige talking about Coldplay and the All-American Rejects. Alright, so for the suspect of a vehicular manslaughter, the suspect in a hit-and-run crash that killed a Brooklyn couple and their baby has now been charged with second-degree vehicular manslaughter, the Kings County District Attorney Office announced Tuesday. Attorney Charles J. Hines said, "While we knew it was a snowy evening and the defendant was speeding, our investigation has developed additional information concerning the nature of Mr. Acevedo's conduct leading up to the fatal crash." Julio Acevedo, age 44, was indicted last week accusing of hitting a livery cab carrying Nathan and Razy Glauber, both 21, on March 3rd. According to police, Razy Glauber was pregnant, and the couple's son was delivered prematurely by the hospital and died the next day. An investigation found that Acevedo was traveling at almost 70 miles per hour, which was twice the legal speed limit for where the accident happened, and fled after the collision, the district attorney office said. Acevedo was arrested after a friend helped facilitate his surrender in the parking lot of a convenience store in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, according to New York Deputy Police Commissioner Paul Brown. Acevedo has already been charged with leaving the scene of an incident, and the district attorney's office said that he pleaded not guilty. Acevedo could face up to life in prison if convicted.
Well, if you do something like that, you should at least stay and confess. If you try and run, they're going to catch you, and consequences are just going to be worse.
I don't know. He probably just reacted too fast. He's like, "Oh wow, I just crashed and probably killed a bunch of people." I don't know. If you were there, would you leave, or would you actually stay and risk getting in a bunch of trouble? I know you're already gonna get in trouble anyway, but do you really want to go through everything that just happened? It was probably he was going 70 miles per hour. I know my parents don't even drive that fast on the freeway, but yeah.
I don't understand why anybody would even need to go that fast. That is ridiculous.
Maybe he was in a rush.
If you're in a rush, you drive 40 in a 35. You don't go 70.
Well, maybe if you're in more of a rush, you have to go 70. Maybe he was late to something that important.
There's nothing he could be doing that would make him need to go 70 miles per hour. Nothing at all.
Okay, so if you had to go 70 miles per hour, what would be your reason for going 70 miles per hour?
I'd have no reason. If I was going to the hospital because someone was in critical condition, I would actually take the fastest route. I wouldn't go 70 miles per hour, so.
Well, his 70 miles per hour driving caused him to, I'm unsure if the couple is alright, but I know that their child, the premature child, since the woman was pregnant. She, I don't know, well, her baby did not make it out alive. They delivered the baby at a hospital, but however, the next day it died, so it's quite unfortunate.
Let's have a moment of silence for the dead baby.
No, that's awkward. This is a radio show. There is no time for silence. Plus, I'm going to be talking more about, people dying. So, with my second story, I'm going to be talking about an incident in a Nevada military base that caused some lives and a bunch of wounded people. So, 7 Marines were killed and several others were wounded after an explosion occurred during a military training exercise at a base in western Nevada used by the military's most elite warriors, the Marine Corps said. The blast occurred around 10 p.m. Monday during a live training exercise at the Hawthorne Army Depot, a 147,000-acre munitions storage facility and training base just east off of the California line and 140 miles south of Reno. According to local reports, a 60-millimeter motor explosion as soldiers from 2nd Marine Expeditionary Forces based at Camp Lejeune were preparing to fire it during live round exercises. The explosion didn't involve the stores of munitions that are kept at the 230-square-mile base. 4 Marines were killed instantly, while the 2 others died while waiting for an emergency helicopter to arrive. It wasn't immediately clear how the 7th soldier died. At least 7 injured soldiers were being treated at 2 area hospitals for broken bones and other wounds. Their conditions were not immediately available on Tuesday morning, though early reports said that they ranged from fair to serious. Military policy dictates that the soldiers' identities will be released 24 hours after the family are notified of the tragedy. And in addition to serving as a storage facility, the Hawthorne base serves as a training base for Special Ops forces. Major General Raymond C. Fox says, "We send our prayers and condolences to the families of the Marines involved in the tragic incident. We remain focused on ensuring that they are supported although this difficult time. We mourn their loss, and it is with heavy hearts we remember their courage and sacrifice."
That is very sad, very depressing.
Any other? Hello? Anything to say, Paige?
That's sad.
That's all? Come on, you can add on more.
Well, to be the families of them, they didn't see this coming. You have these soldiers dying, being wounded. They must be taking this pretty harshly.
Well, it was an accident. It wasn't like it was like any forced death. Like it was just it was during an exercise. Taylor.
Yeah, that's sad.
So I'm assuming you guys just don't want to talk about sad things today. All right, Kyrie, go ahead with your story.
So Miami is up to the 23rd game win streak, which makes them one of the NBA's 2 biggest TV draws, and the rival is the Los Angeles Lakers. However, they cannot help the league's national TV ratings, at least this week. The NBA's Miami Heat's next 3 games will not be nationally televised. Fans from coast to coast will have to wait until Miami plays at Chicago on March 27th. That's when ESPN airs that game. Miami's win at Boston Monday as the Heat move closer to breaking the all-time NBA record of 33 consecutive wins set by the 71-72 Lakers, drew a 3.1 overnight rating. So what do you guys think of that?
Wait, they're already up to like their 32nd win?
They're up to 23.
Oh, all right. Because I thought you said 33rd, because I remember the week before you said that they were up to their 20th win, so I like doubted if they were up to their 33rd, but
they are making impressive plays. and it's mainly because of not Dwight Howard, Dwayne Wade and LeBron James.
And if they weren't there, would they be winning?
Likely not.
So they're technically they're just carrying the team. They're making the most points and doing the most work.
I mean, everybody's doing something, but they have a very big part in it.
Yes, a really big part.
Yes.
All right. So, go on and tell us about Adrian Dantley.
So, former NBA star and Olympian Adrian Dantley left the NBA in 1991, but recently he has found a new career, crossing guard. WTOP reports that Dantley, who spent most of his career with the Utah Jazz and the Detroit Pistons and led the 1976 Olympic team for the U.S. in scoring, got the idea to become a crossing guard in a weight room. All I do is work out and lift weights all the time, Dantley tells WTOP. I was in the weight room and a couple of guys were talking saying, man, I tell you, what's a good job? A couple of my wives saying they're crossing guards. So I heard them and say, that's something I want to do. The 6'5" Dantley started working as a crossing guard in September 2012 for an hour a day at Eastern Middle School and New Hampshire Estates Elementary School in Silver Spring, Maryland. Dantley says he wanted something to do in his free time and enjoys the health care benefits. Records show he gets paid $14,685.50 a year, but Dantley says he doesn't need the money. I could sit around the house. I could do that. I don't want to do that, he told WTOP. Dantley says he plans to remain a crossing guard for the next 20 years. So, anything to say?
That's really devoted. 20 years of being a crossing guard.
Well, it's a better use of his time than doing nothing.
But lifting weights is something. It's technically you're. I don't know. I was going nowhere with that, but still, why would you pick 20 years for just to help kids cross the street?
He must be really into his hobby.
I mean, it's like any job. I mean, you do it because you want to, and it's like being a doctor. They do it to help people, and they do it to help kids cross the street.
So you just want to, like, if you were, like, I'm still at the 20 years of being a street guard at the crossing guard thing. Page. Page. Woman with 1,000 words.
Yeah, totally.
Alright, well, next is going to be Taylor, talking about a mom going through her son's text messages. Tell us about that.
A woman's son who was in the 6th grade saw that his phone was beeping constantly, so she decided to check it out. And when her son was sleeping, she started to look through his text messages and social networking site, which was Instagram. And she found that he was posting several things about a girl he liked and how he was going to ask her out. And she didn't think that her son was interested in girls because he was only in 6th grade. But and he was also a very quiet and sensitive kid who kept to himself. And she went on his Instagram, and her words were that, oh, it's public anyway, so I should be able to go on it. And she went on Instagram, and she's worried that he'll get himself into trouble later down the line in his social networking adventure because he seems to not care about what he posts. And so really is social networking taking a big step in the lives of kids. And the expansion of the internet is available to everyone, and it may just be allowing kids to think that it's okay to post anything that they want to. But was it really right for the woman to go through her son's phone, even though she had suspicions? Because he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just talking about a girl that he liked. And, like, there might be that line that you cross between caring for your child and then going a little too far.
Wow, so invasion of privacy. Privacy, that's what I was just thinking throughout the whole thing. I'm like, I would not let my parents look through any of my social networking.
Yeah, like how would you feel if your mom took your phone and decided to look through everything you do?
It's like, hey, you did this in school, you didn't tell me. It's like, I didn't want to.
Yeah, I don't actually use my phone for texting a lot. there's a reason for that. Because if she found it, I'd be so embarrassed.
That's nice. Alright, Taylor, go on with your second story.
My second story is called Garbled Texting as a Sign of Stroke. And scientists and doctors have done research and found that there's a new sign that might tell if somebody has had a stroke or not. And researchers interviewed a few people who have had problems texting in their recent activities, and they explained how they were concerned because they weren't able to send coherent text messages because every time they tried, they would come out jumbled up. And doctors took scans of the people that they interviewed and came to the conclusion that they all had had a small stroke recently, and doctors are calling this dyslexia because the symptoms are highly similar to people who are diagnosed with dyslexia. And they interviewed a pregnant woman who had her husband complain about how she had sent him a group of jumbled text messages in a row, and he was concerned and consulted the doctor. And when she was examined, she told the doctor that she had been having pains in her right leg and arm, and little did she know she had suffered a small stroke causing these symptoms during her pregnancy, which could have affected the baby as well.
So, do you think, like, the story is gonna make people stop texting? Because, I don't know, because I'm not much of a texting type. Like, I was always just the call a person because it saves more time. But, like, now that we know that, supposedly if you text for a certain amount of time, you get a stroke.
Well, no. It was people who were having trouble texting. They would send jumbled text messages and things, and people who would get these text messages would be concerned, and they would talk to the doctor, and they might have had a stroke from texting weird. It's not the texting that makes you have a stroke.
It's the weird texting.
That's just a sign that you might have had one.
Oh, so it's like it's already happened.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the name, dyslexia. It sounds like something that's made up. I mean, of course it's similar to dyslexia, but if you really think about it, the name, it makes sense, but at the same time,
Well, I just think doctors, they just try to come up with things. Just because I guess you can't really diagnose a real name for something like that. It's just something to call it, I guess.
Alright, well, thanks, Taylor. Alright, now with Paige, going to be talking about Coldplay and the All-American Rejects. Go ahead.
Okay, so the All-American Rejects is an American rock band that was formed in Stillwater, Oklahoma in 1999. And in 2002, with producer Tim O'Hare, they recorded their debut album, the All-American Rejects. Their first album and single, Swing Sing, was released towards the end of 2002. And in spring of 2003, they had a headlining tour called Too Bad For You. And 2 years later, the All-American Rejects released their second studio album, Move Along. On August 15, 2009, the Rejects made history performing alongside Ray Gunn, Boys Like Girls, Pixie Lott, and Casabian as one of many live acts at Asia's first MTV World Stage Live in Malaysia concert. This soon sold over 15,000 digital and physical copies in the country. And When the World Comes Down was also featured on the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen soundtrack. But since then, there hasn't been much really in the media about them. In February 2010, the All-American Rejects performed at the Winter Olympics at Whistler Metals Plaza, and they also had a direct TV performance at the Super Bowl. In 2010, again, the band wrote and recorded their song The Poison for the Almost Alice compilation, a collection of songs representing the Tim Burton film Alice in Wonderland. And from June 25th to July 18th, the All-American Rejects toured the United States and Canada as part of a Warped Tour in 2010 festival. Later, they embarked on the Shaking Off Us Tour, which began in San Luis Obispo, California, United States, on January 18th, 2012, and the tour proceeded throughout the year. some of which they performed the support act for Blink-182 20th anniversary tour in the UK.
It's pretty interesting, you know. I don't really listen to bands too often, but the ones that I listen to, I probably have not heard of them. Have you ever heard of Queens of the Stone Age? Anybody?
No.
Yes,
No?
of course.
You rock.
So we have a video of Coldplay.
Oh yeah, but this is the All American Rejects, the
Sorry,
Coldplay one's
keep
next.
Alright, talk about Coldplay.
Coldplay is a famous alternative rock band led by singer Chris Martin and guitar John Buckley, created in 1996, and originally when they were still in their early phases they went under many various names, including Pectorals and Starfish. It wasn't until their single Yellow in 2000 that they actually went featured for their acclaim. The two most famous of their band albums were A Rush of Blood to the Head and Viva La Vida or Death and All His Friends. And A Rush of Blood to the Head was the band's second album, released on August 26, 2002. And Viva La Vida was featured various nominations, even including Grammy nominations. But aside from nominations, there were awards and much critical praise. In fact, Rolling Stones ranked the album 7 in 2008's Best Albums. But in more recent years, the band released on October 19th, 2011, their new album Milo Ex Lodo. This album was tailored to be a rock opera themed album. Not many actually know that, but the album is about government supremacy and abuse regarding the influence of colors and the government's thirst for power, thus resulting in a tyrannical government with a vendetta to wipe out color from the streets. The government is called Silensa, which is supposedly an Orwellian government. An Orwellian government is like a figment of imagination. It's from George Orwell books, and there are several other components to the album's backstory. This abusive government is led by Major Minus, and he sends out armies of silencers whose jobs are to find sparkers and rebels who won't give up color. Milo is a person in one of those armies, and he meets Ex Lodo and the Sparker most wanted by the government. And however, something happens along the way, and Milo discovers his spark abilities and the rebellious faction Car Kids. And personally, I found the album's backstory to be quite interesting, as I was always a fan of the album, but I never knew the story, and like I've never heard of this kind of like album backstory, so it's kind of cool. And apparently my favorite for the album wasn't an isolated case, as the album charted #1 in 34 countries. Nonetheless, the album was a hit and received many Grammy nominations in 2011 and even 2 in 2012 for their single song Charlie Brown. On February 20th, 2013, the band was reported to have been experimenting with the idea of a fully acoustic album after winning the title Best Live Band, and so far what has been produced is supposedly unworthy of an album. However, nonetheless, the album is still in its early phases. So here's the song Charlie Brown, which is like responsible for the Milo Ex Lodo album in general.
that's all we have for you guys today. If you guys would like to know what we were talking about again, I talked about the suspect of a vehicular manslaughter, an accident in a Nevada military base. Kyrie talked about how the Miami Heat can't help the NBA's national ratings, and how Adrian Dantley, former NBA player, became a crossing guard. Taylor talked about how a mom was going through her son's text messages and how gargle texting is a sign of stroke. And last we had Paige talking about the All-American Rejects and Coldplay. Thank you.